Hello, everyone. Welcome to Harmon Talk. Thank you for joining us for our second episode. We want to thank all the listeners that joined us for our first episode. We received a lot of positive feedback. So thank you very much for listening and providing that feedback for us. But we had a lot of fun.
Yes,
We had a lot of fun recording that episode, and we're going to have a lot of fun today as well.
Okay.
I am your host, Dr. Shirley, and I am joined by my amazing husband, Jerome.
Wow. Hey, hello, everyone.
So once again, thank you for listening. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into it with our listeners. And I want to pose a question for our listeners. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? I know that I have been in situations myself where I have been sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I'm not just talking about my professional life, also my personal life. When you are feeling angry all the time, you're frustrated, you're just unhappy, you're confused about the next step. And so you're just going through the motions of life and just trying to make it through the day and not being fulfilled. I've been there. I've done that. Got the t-shirt, and I don't want to go back. So just being sick and tired of being sick and tired. One of my times when I have been in this situation was many, many years ago. Not going to tell my age, but but many, many years ago, I had a job, and it was a good job. You know, what we call one of those good paying jobs.
Yeah.
And the job atmosphere was toxic. The people were mean, they were jealous. There was no policies in place. The entire place was just running amok. And it was a struggle to go in there every day because you didn't know what the day was going to bring. But yet you're trying to do your best. You're going to make the best of this situation, and you're not going to let anybody run your way because especially where we come from, it's one of those good jobs.
Yeah.
You don't just let those go, you endure. And so that's what I was doing. I was just enduring. But every day, it just eats away at your soul. And it takes pieces away every day. I remember at night, I would get out of bed with my husband, you. I would get out of bed and I would go into the living room and I would cry. I would be in tears because I knew I had to go back. And that was a struggle, and that went on for a while. And one of those nights, you actually came in and you caught me crying, and you're like, what's going on? And I told you what the situation was and that it was just so much. It was so much that I had to get done. And it was so much that I had to go through to get it done, to get it completed. And it was a battle. It was a battle with the people. It was just every day was a struggle. I was so tired of fighting. And your response was, well, then you don't need to go back. Your response was, you'll get another job just like you got that one. And I thought to myself, oh, that's easy for him to say. It's not your job. And I didn't leave right then. I went on a few more years because I felt like I had to endure, even though I was sick and tired of it. But nobody can tell you when you reach that breaking point but yourself. And I finally reached it at one point, and it wasn't one single thing that I can point to. It was just, I had had enough. And I was willing to step out at that point. Not the point when you told me, when my
Right.
husband told me,
Right.
but when it was right for me. And of course, people were coming at me like, you leaving this job? Girl, you know there are a lot of people waiting for your position. And where are you going to go? I didn't tell anybody where I was going to go because, for one thing, it wasn't none of their business. And the next thing was, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew what I was not going to do because my family was suffering. When you are unhappy, then that means that you are making the people around you unhappy and uncomfortable. And I am not able to be the mother, the wife, the sister, the friend that I wanted to be. So that is my story of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I know that I'm not the only person with that story. We have a lot of people out there that are listening that at this moment, you may be sick and tired of being sick and tired. Or at some point in your life, you were.
Yeah, I know I was. I worked as a correction officer many years ago. And the a lot of times during the meetings in the morning, the supervisor would come in, the sergeant, captain, whoever was running the meeting, and it was, and they would say give us instructions or directions on how to run our building. And by that, I mean, it would be one officer and about 96 inmates you'd be locked down there with. And they come in with these ideas or these commands. And I'm like, well, they're not down there. So, they don't know how I need to run my building. So, and I think for the most part, the biggest thing that bothered me, that ate at me, that ate at my soul, was that on the day of our graduation, commissioner came and he was talking, giving us this speech and everything. And he told us about how working this job was so stressful that it would take away a third of your life expectancy. So I'm thinking
Wow.
every 3 days, I'm losing one from the end. So, and then just the idea of going there and a lot of people don't understand it because they haven't lived it, right? And that's the thing with a lot of our stories and all, you know, a lot of people don't get it because they never been there, right?
Right.
So I think the biggest thing was every morning that gate locked, and I know I was gonna be locked in there for 8 hours, and may have to fight for my life, which I
Right.
didn't have to most of the time.
Thank
I had
God.
had a few of them, but most of the time there was it was okay. But just the idea of knowing that I would have to go from 0 to 100, at the drop of a hat,
Right.
was just eating at me, and I just couldn't. I couldn't relax. I couldn't let my guard down, and that wasn't the type of person that I was, or that I am. I'm a loving, fun guy. I like to have fun and very compassionate and everything. But I had to be this mean, ruthless guy. Cause think about it, when I was working there, it was very it was very early in my life. So I was a little guy.
Right.
I was a little guy. I was 5'6", weighed 127 pounds. And I had to mean what I said. So I had to be super tough. And then the problem became being able to take that hat off when I was on the outside of the gate. I remember my wife telling me sometime, wait a minute. You're not at that prison. I said, it don't matter. It don't matter.
Yes, it
I'm
did.
still the man. So
yeah, it mattered.
yeah, it affected. So I think, and that was just because that was working in that environment. You don't realize that you take on a whole nother lifestyle. You have to. And the thing about it is the pay wasn't that great. So it's like, it wasn't worth it to me, and it was just eating. I gotta find me something else. I have to find something else. I can't keep doing it. I can't keep living like this, And not to mention it was kind of the beginning of my demise of, alcoholism, man.
I was going to mention that. It's like
Oh.
you choose coping mechanisms
Yeah.
to help you to get through the day, to get through the week, just to try to get some form of happiness.
Yeah.
And so I'll let you address that.
Yeah. Long story short, I like to drink myself to death. I couldn't get drunk enough. I would drink, several times a day, get, and sober up and get drunk a couple of times a day. And I would even get drunk. I would drink before going to work, drink in the parking lot, before I went in for a shift, just trying to get through the shift, right? And then I would, as soon as I came out the gate, of course, I got to have a drink. And, and then when I got home, I fixed me a real drink.
And the running joke was a couple of liquor stores closed down when you stopped drinking.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure a couple of them didn't make it when I quit. But yeah, I just knew I had to get out of that, And then, sometimes though, we don't realize that. Well, I didn't realize. So what I did was, I was kind of like, I came here looking for a job. I'll find another job. So I felt like I needed to be happy all the time while I was at work. So if things wasn't going my way, I'd quit and find something else.
And that was totally the opposite of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mindset was, and I was raised with the mindset that you do what you have to do and you endure because people are depending on you. And so I had to suffer to go through what I was going through. But my mindset was that, but I'm taking care of my family. My children eat every day. And so your mechanism for dealing with it was alcohol. I remember mine was more so food because I gained a lot of weight during that time and eating. And everybody, if you're going through something, you choose something.
Yeah, something
that will help you deal with your situation, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether it's drugs, whether it is exercise. I even went through a period where I was doing extensive exercise and trying to go from one extent to the other and lost several pounds, got really thin.
Yeah.
And it was that I gave up one vice for another and I lost so much weight. And then at some point when I was getting back to my happy place, I gained a little bit of weight and people were telling me, well, one friend in particular was telling me, yeah, you look like a pencil. And I'm like, what you mean a pencil? She said, yeah, you had that little rubber, that head, and then that straight body, you look like a pencil. And nobody tells you that while you're going through it.
Right.
But they tell you that afterwards.
Right.
And so that was my coping mechanism. And I know that a lot of people out there, you are dealing with some of the same things, being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you're struggling to come up with a way to get out of it and how to step out and to try something new. But the trick is, nobody can tell you when the time is right for you. People can encourage you, but until you are ready, nobody can tell you what it is or when your time is to move on to something new. one thing that I want to encourage you is at this moment, if you are that person that is sick and tired of being sick and tired, look at your situation and see if there are some changes that you can make. I don't want to advocate and tell you, just go ahead, quit your job. You'll find another one, because we all don't think like that. Sometimes it may be that you're going through that job right now, and while you have that job, go ahead and start looking for something else, because happiness is important.
Yeah, I just wanna add to that. What I didn't realize though until many years later, that because I've had a multitude of jobs, I've had some really good jobs, but they were just not satisfying. They were those jobs that led me to being sick and tired of being sick and tired of it, and and I like I said, I would jump ship, at the drop of a hat, if something didn't go my way, not realizing that I wasn't flying solo, that I had my partner, my wife, on the other side that was like, and it actually created a sick and tired of being sick and tired of her, wondering whether I was gonna have a job or not, or keep a job, or stay at a job. Oh God, wonder he gonna come home and say, I quit, I quit this one, I'm going here, I'm going, or what are you gonna do? I don't know yet. But I knew I couldn't stay there. But maybe I should have stayed some longer at some of them, but some of them I knew I had to go. It was something that I had to do for me, to make me be a better person, to help me be a better person, or be the person that I am. However, I didn't realize that how the adverse effect that it had on the negative effect that it had on her, wondering whether I'm gonna have work or not, and having to take care of everything herself. And
Yeah,
I didn't realize that I was putting that kind of pressure on her.
yeah, that was when we say we had good years and some bad years and some rocky roads.
Yeah,
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 we made it through,
yeah,
but a couple of times, yeah, we came pretty close.
yeah,
Didn't know if we were going to make it through, but we are here, and we have actually gotten stronger, because one thing that did teach me was that sometimes you do have to go for your dreams. Sometimes you do have to step out there and to try something new. And for me, when I did finally do it that first time, it taught me that I have other talents, I have other interests, and that I am intelligent, I am capable. And so I don't have to just keep myself in that good job that people say that you don't leave those good jobs, because that was not fulfilling for me and I was not happy. And I know that there are a lot of listeners out there in that same situation. So we really want to encourage you that if you are in that situation of being sick and tired, you want to make sure that you evaluate your situation and try to find some peace, try to find a way to be happy, because being happy is so important.
yes.
Being happy, being satisfied
And I
is so important.
and I like to, just say that I'm reminded of the Canton Spirituals song of theirs, and they say I made it, and the singer says, I didn't go to college, I don't have no degree, but I made it. And so I think that's kind of the way, the reason that I made it, the way I feel in my heart and mind that I made it, is that I had God, and that was enough. God, and that reminds me of another song, that I've come too far to turn around. I don't believe that God brought me this far, to leave me. And it was like I always felt like, and then I think Shirley and I, we had that conversation sometime. I
Right.
said, God has never let us down. We have
Right.
always, He has always made a way for us to make it, and He's not going to stop.
Right.
We're gonna be okay.
Right.
So that sometimes I had to give her that reassurance, that God has never let us down, and He is not a God that changes like we do. So if He started out making a way for us, He's gonna always make a way for us. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be fine. So and that's what I based my leaving on. Like I was looking for a job when I came here. There are plenty of jobs out there. I'll find something. So wasn't necessarily the mindset because that just shows how people are different.
People are different.
She and
People
I
are so different.
yeah.
We are different.
Completely different.
Completely different because I think that you think that God may talk to people differently.
Yeah.
Or hear something different. So everybody's not going to think the same way you do.
Right.
And especially the way, we're married and we think totally different because my mindset it was for a long time, you do what you got to do. Like I said earlier, but that was the mindset that I was raised with. My mom was big on that you have to make a way to make it happen. And you have to make sure that everything around you was taken care of, even if you had to take a back seat. And so for years, I took a back seat because I put everybody else before me to make sure that they were okay. So now it's time for me to step out of the shadows and to make sure that I am okay. And I refuse now to be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Amen. Man.
And want to just let you know that it's never too late. It is never too late until God decides to take you away from this earth. And with that being said, I do want to get into something that's a little more personal with us. Here recently, we've had a lot of death in our family. And it's kind of hard to talk about because a lot of these deaths are people that we loved. And a lot of them we were really close to.
Yeah, they come close in time, so we haven't had time to cry and grieve because you got to get ready for the next one.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's been hard. But one thing that reminds me about is you have to make sure that you live your best life because you never know when that day is coming. And it also reminds me of a story that I heard as far as, do you know where the best place to find innovative ideas, inventions, philosophers, thoughts? The best place to find those things are in the graveyard. Because so many people have died and never shared their ideas or thoughts with the world, and they just never lived them, and they took those things with them to the grave. And there's so many of us that are like that have ideas, things you want to do, things, talents that you have not shared with the world. And when you pass on, they're going with you. And you would not have shared it, and no one will ever know. And have any of you listeners had an idea or an invention that you may have thought of at some point, but you didn't act on it? But then years later, somebody else decided to act on it. They had that same idea, and then they acted on it.
We go into the store buying it.
And you're going to the store buying it, and you're like, oh my God, I thought of that years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yes.
And so they're living the life that you could have been living, but you were afraid to step out there and to try it. And so we want to encourage all of you, please, if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, find a way to get out of that rut. If it means that you got to start looking for things that you enjoy, please do. Happiness and satisfaction in your life means a lot. Please do.
Yes, absolutely. Please do. Because I mean, that's kind of the thing that keeps us going. It's your life. So make the best of it. Try to get the most out of it, and don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to try something new. That's the thing with us. I know Dr. Shirley's talked about it before. Um, talked about it before. That being afraid to step out there to try something because you don't know what people are gonna say or what they're gonna do, how they're gonna react. But that's the thing about it. It's yours. It's not theirs. So some people are gonna love it. You know, some people are gonna love it. So just try it. Try something new. Get out there. Try it.
And sometimes you got to realize that it's not their dream, it's your dream. It's what you want to put out there. People will talk against it, how you think you could do that, why you want to do that. But that dream was meant for you. It was not meant for them to understand it, to see it, to envision it. God gave it to you
Yes.
for you to put it into motion. So don't worry about what people think. If you worry about what people think, you will never accomplish anything. You're just going to stay in that place of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, going to that same old job that you hate and that you're miserable. And I know what you're going through. Like I said earlier, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, don't want to go back. So please step out and try something new. You deserve it, and you are so worth it. And also remember that you have to put these ideas out there in the atmosphere because you want to make sure that your ideas, your ambitions do not end up in the graveyard. And nobody does not get to see how bright and intelligent you are. And you are just that. You're bright, you're intelligent, you're talented. You have a lot of gifts to share with the world.
We want to see it.
Yes.
We want to see it.
Yes. Woo. So, once again, we want to thank you for joining Harmon Talk. Hopefully, you understand our passion when we were talking about being sick and tired of being sick and tired because we want you to live your best life.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. We would love to have you back for our next episode. I am Dr. Shirley, and I am here with my amazing, handsome husband,
Woo.
Jerome
Amazing.
Harmon. So thank you, my love, for joining me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And thank you to my listeners. And remember, we upload episodes every second and fourth Sunday. Please join us. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.